Obsidian. Keywords: early humans, sharp points. Explanation. In the first paragraph, the author mentioned that, from our earliest origins, man has been making use of glass. Historians have discovered that a type of natural glass, obsidian, was first used as tips for spears. From our earliest origins can be understood as early humans make use of is the same as use, and tips means sharp points, so it can be inferred from the two sentences that our ancestors used obsidian. Therefore, the answer is obsidian. Paraphrased words: man from our earliest origins, early human. Tip, sharp point. Make use of, use. Spears. Keywords: early humans, sharp points. Explanation. In the first paragraph, the author mentioned that, from our earliest origins, man has been making use of glass. Historians have discovered that a type of natural glass, obsidian, was first used as tips for spears. From our earliest origins can be understood as early humans make use of is the same as use, and tips means sharp points, so it can be inferred from the two sentences that our ancestors used obsidian to make the sharp points of their spears. Therefore, the answer is spears. Paraphrased words: man from our earliest origins, early human. Tip, sharp point. Make use of, use. Beads. Keywords: 4000 BC, made of stone, covered, coating, man-made glass. Explanation. By using the skim and scan skill, we can locate the word 4000 BC in the first paragraph. Archaeologists have even found evidence of man-made glass, which dates back to 4000 BC. This took the form of glazes used for coating stone beads. Here, this refers to man-made glass, and coat means cover, so the sentence can be paraphrased into man-made glass was used to cover the stone beads. The answer is beads. Note that only one word is allowed. Paraphrased words: coat, cover. Impurities. Keywords: 1st century BC, colored, because of, material. Explanation. We can find the phrase, 1st century BC in the second paragraph. The glass made during this time was highly colored due to the impurities of the raw material. Due to means because of, so the impurities in the material were responsible for the color of glass. Hence, the answer is impurities. Paraphrased words: due to, because of. Romans. Keywords: until 476 AD, only, new. Explanation. It is mentioned in the second paragraph that the Romans guarded the skills and technology required to make glass very closely, and it was not until 476 AD that glass-making knowledge became widespread. Glass-making knowledge means how to make glass, and widespread means distributed over a wide region, or occurring in many places or among many persons or individuals, which is the opposite of the term only. It can be inferred from this that prior to 476 AD, such knowledge had been exclusive to the Romans and only they knew how to make glass. Paraphrased words. Glass-making knowledge, how to make glass. Lead. Keywords. 17th century, George Ravenscroft, avoid, blown glass. Explanation. Information about George Ravenscroft can be found in the third paragraph where the author mentioned an attempt to counter the effect of clouding that sometimes occurred in blown glass by introducing lead to the raw materials used in the process. The words counter the effectives mean reduce the effective, which means it is the same as avoid. The idea is to use a material called lead. Hence, the answer is lead. Paraphrased words. Counter the effect of avoid. Clouding. Keywords. 17th century, George Ravenscroft, avoid, blown glass. Explanation. Information about George Ravenscroft can be found in the third paragraph where the author mentioned an attempt to counter the effect of clouding that sometimes occurred in blown glass by introducing lead to the raw materials used in the process. The words counter the effectives mean reduce the effective, which means it is the same as avoid. The idea is to use a material called lead in the production of blown glass to avoid clouding which may otherwise occur. Hence, the answer is clouding. Paraphrased words. Counter the effect of avoid. Taxes. Keywords. Mid-19th century, British glass production, after, changes, laws. Explanation. Because the questions follow the order of the text, and we already know the position of the answer to question 7, in third paragraph, just pay attention to the following parts. We find the word, Britain, and the date 1845, which refers to mid-19th century, at the beginning of the fourth paragraph. It is mentioned that the Excise Act had put heavy taxes on the amount of glass melted in a glasshouse, and were levied continuously from 1745 to 1845. But since its repeal, meaning that the laws were cancelled, the modern glass industry, which is the same as British glass production, started to develop. The repeal of the Excise Act in 1845 can be considered as changes to laws, and obviously it was concerned with heavy taxes. With the note that only one word is allowed, the answer should be taxes. True. Keywords. Fastest, bottle producing, at the time. Explanation. In terms of H.M. Ashley's machine, the fifth paragraph stated that it was more than 3 times quicker than any previous production method. A bottle-producing machine is a form of production method, so this statement obviously means that it was the fastest machine at that time. Therefore the answer is true. . False. Keywords: hired, large US company, design, fully automated. Explanation: information about Michael Owens can be found in the 5th paragraph. It is mentioned that he was the founder of the Owens Bottle Machine Company. He started the company and he was the owner. Hence, the statement that he was hired by the company, meaning that he was an employee, must be false. Not given. Keywords: nowadays, most, large international manufacturers. Explanation: it is mentioned in the 6th paragraph that, today, glassmaking is a big business. It has become a modern, high-tech industry operating in a fiercely competitive global market where quality, design, and service levels are critical to maintaining market share. However, there is no information about glass being produced by international companies. True. Keywords: concern, environment, lead to, increased demand, glass containers. Explanation: in the last paragraph, the author said, with growing consumer concern for green issues, glass bottles and jars are becoming ever more popular. Thus, concern for green issues means concern for the environment, and glass bottles and jars are types of glass containers. It can be inferred from the sentence that environmental concerns led to the increasing popularity of, therefore, increased demand for, the above-mentioned glass containers. False. Keywords: more expensive, recycled glass, new glass. Explanation: in the last paragraph, the author made a comparison between recycled and new glass, as less energy is needed to melt recycled glass than to melt down raw materials. This also saves fuel and production costs, implying that the production of recycled glass is not as expensive as that of new glass, because it does not require as much energy, fuel, and production costs. Thus, the answer is false. D. Keywords: 2006 discovery, animal bone, Lynx. Explanation: the date 2006 can be found in the first paragraph using the skim and scan skill. Here, the author claimed that the 2006 find, together with 3 others in Yorkshire and Scotland, is compelling evidence that the lynx and the mysterious Lewin were in fact one and the same animal. If this is so, it would bring forward the tassel-eared cat's estimated extinction date by roughly 5,000 years. The word find is the same as discoveries, and bring forward means to move to an earlier time or date. It can be understood that after this discovery, scientists had enough proof to say that the extinction of the lynx had happened much later than previously thought. Hence, the answer is D. Paraphrased words: discovery, find. A. Keywords. Large predators, third paragraph. Explanation. We can find information about large predators in the third paragraph. Some of them drive dynamic processes that resonate through the whole food chain, creating niches for hundreds of species that might otherwise struggle to survive. The whole food chain refers to ecosystems, and resonate means to broadly affect something. The first half of the sentence means that the presence of large predators can extensively affect the ecosystems in which they live. In addition, it helps to create niches, meaning appropriate environments, for other animals, including those considered to be the prey. Hence, more species are more likely to survive, which means biodiversity is increased. The author summarizes this in the final sentence: the killers turn out to be bringers of life. Paraphrased words. Killers, predators. C. Keywords. British conservation, fourth paragraph. Explanation. In the fourth paragraph, the author mentioned that British conservation tried to preserve the living world as if it were a jar of pickles, letting nothing in and nothing out, keeping nature in a state of arrested development. It can be understood that they wanted to keep everything in a static state, without developing, failing to understand that ecosystems are not merely collections of species, they are also the dynamic and ever-shifting relationships between them. Ever-shifting means continuously changing and developing, so the idea of always keeping everything the same is not plausible or possible. In other words, British conservation has taken a misguided approach. A. Keywords. Protect large areas of the sea. Commercial fishing result in. Explanation. In the fifth paragraph, the author mentioned, at sea the potential is even greater. By protecting large areas from commercial fishing, we could once more see what 18th century literature describes, vast shoals of fish being chased by fin and sperm whales, within sight of the English shore, anticipating the return of once flourished marine life if sea protection is done right, by creating breeding reserves. However, protecting large areas of the sea not only benefits the ecosystem, it also benefits the fishing industry, whose overexploitation of the seabed could not be more damaging to its own interests. Commercial fishing leaves no fish offspring in the sea, meaning no fish to catch in the near future. An alternative would be to protect marine life and turn to catches in the surrounding seas, which could be more profitable in the long run. C. Keywords. Distinguishes Rewilding, other campaigns. Explanation. It is claimed in the sixth paragraph that Rewilding is a rare example of an environmental movement, meaning it is different from other campaigns, because it helps to create a more inspiring vision. Inspiring means appealing, and vision can be understood as positive message. By arguing in favor of rewilding, campaigners articulate what they are for, rather than only what they are against. Their message is, therefore, positive, so the answer has to be C. Paraphrased words. Appealing, inspiring. Positive message, vision. E. Keywords: no evidence, Lynx, danger. Explanation: in the 7th paragraph, it is stated that the lynx presents no threat to human beings. There is no known instance of one preying on people. No known instance is the same as no evidence, and prey on a means to feed on, which is similar to put something in danger, so the sentence could be paraphrased into, there is no evidence that the lynx has put people in danger. Hence, the blank must be filled with E. Paraphrased words: no evidence, no known instance. Prey on, put something in danger. D. Keywords: reduce the number, populations increased enormously, recent decades. Explanation: also in the 7th paragraph, the lynx is described as a specialist predator of roe deer, a species that has exploded in Britain in recent decades. The term to explode means to increase enormously in population. A predator is an organism that exists by preying upon other organisms. The fact that the lynx is a predator of the roe deer means that it feeds on, therefore reduces the number of the latter. And roe deer are a type of wild animal, so the answer should be D. Paraphrased words: explode, increase enormously in population. F. Keywords: minimal threat, provided, lynx habitats. Explanation: the next part of the 7th paragraph stated that the lynx requires deep cover, and as such presents little risk to sheep and other livestock, which are supposed, as a condition of farm subsidies, to be kept out of the woods. The term little risk means minimal threat, as a condition means provided, kept out of is the same as kept away from, and the woods refers to lynx habitats. We can paraphrase this sentence like this: the lynx only poses a minimal threat to livestock, provided that they are kept away from lynx habitats. Since farm animals also mean livestock, the answer is F. Paraphrased words: minimal threat, little risk. Provided, as a condition. Kept away from, kept out of. A. Keywords: link efficiently, initiatives, return. Explanation: in the 7th paragraph, it is mentioned that the reintroduction of the lynx marries well, meaning links efficiently, with the aim of bringing forests back to parts of our bare and barren uplands, which implies certain areas of the country. Since bring something back means return, and initiative can be understood as aim, the answer would relate to forests. Paraphrased words: link efficiently, marries well. Return, bring back. No. Keywords: first European country, reintroduce. Explanation: in the 8th paragraph, the author told us that he heard several conservationists suggest that the lynx could be reintroduced there within 20 years, meaning that the reintroduction of the lynx in Britain has not happened yet. In addition, it is also stated that the lynx has now been reintroduced to the Jura Mountains, the Alps, the Vosges in eastern France and the Harz Mountains in Germany. Therefore, Britain cannot be the first European country to reintroduce the lynx. Not given. Keywords: large growth, exceed, conservationists' expectations. Explanation: it is mentioned in the 8th paragraph that the European population has tripled since 1970, indicating the large growth in the European lynx population since 1970. However, there is no information about conservationists' expectations. Yes. Keywords: changes, agricultural practices, extend, habitat. Explanation: the next part of the 8th paragraph gave information about lynx habitats. The lynx has been able to spread as farming has left the hills. The word farming means agricultural practices, so farming has left the hills can be considered as a change in agricultural practices. This suggests that the land previously used for farming is now available for the lynx to inhabit, spreading their territory. The word spread has the same meaning as to extend the habitat, therefore it can be deduced that the changes in agriculture have allowed the lynx to extend their habitat. Paraphrased words: farming, agricultural practices. Spread, extend the habitat. Yes. Keywords: species reintroduction, commercial advantages. Explanation: following information about the increasing size of lynx habitats, the 8th paragraph mentioned that people discover that it is more lucrative to protect charismatic wildlife than to hunt it, as tourists will pay for the chance to see it. Both lucrative and commercial advantages means money-making. The sentence suggests that the lynx could become a tourist attraction, bringing in money to the areas where they live. In other words, they bring about commercial benefits, so the correct answer is yes. Paraphrased words: lucrative, commercial advantages. Explanation: this paragraph mentions the 2008 financial meltdown, the aftermath of which is the search for responsible businesses. Governments, regulators, central banks, and auditors have all been in the frame. The role of bank directors and management and their widely publicized failures have been extensively picked over and examined in reports, inquiries, and commentaries. In this sentence, failures is the same as problems. Governments, regulators, central banks, and auditors are examples of external bodies related to the 2008 crisis. Paraphrased words: problems, failures. External bodies: governments, regulators, central banks, and auditors. Explanation: the first sentence shows the main content of this paragraph. The knock-on effect of this scrutiny has been to make the governance of companies in general an issue of intense public debate and has significantly increased the pressure on, and the responsibilities of, directors. Scrutiny means close examination, and effect means of impact, so this paragraph is about the impacts of close examination on companies. Paraphrased words: impact, effect; close examination, scrutiny. Six. Explanation. Paragraph C is quite short, so you should read it thoroughly to find the correct answer. The author mentioned that board business is devolved to committees in order to cope with the workload, which may be more efficient but can mean that the board as a whole is less involved in fully addressing some of the most important issues. This suggests that the disadvantage of board business is the potential risk of board members not being able to work collectively to get through the issues. The term "the board" refers to directors. To be involved in means take part in and address important issues, means solve major problems. Therefore, we can paraphrase as follows: directors may not fully take part in solving major problems. Paraphrased words: take part in, to be involved in; solve major problems, address important issues. Eight. Explanation. Paragraph D discusses a radical solution called the professional board. Although there are certain drawbacks to this solution and it may not be suitable for all businesses, the author claimed that more professional and better informed boards would have been particularly appropriate for banks where the executives had access to information that part-time non-executive directors lacked, leaving the latter unable to comprehend or anticipate the 2008 crash. Therefore, such a solution is a proposal about necessary changes to deal with the problems in board operation previously mentioned in paragraph C. Seven. Explanation. We can find information about the heading of this paragraph in the first sentence. One of the main criticisms of boards and their directors is that they do not focus sufficiently on longer-term matters of strategy, sustainability, and governance, but instead concentrate too much on short-term financial metrics. This means that boards do not see the bigger picture, nor do they understand the importance of long-term and sustainable development. Paraphrased words: look far ahead, focus on longer term. 1. Explanation. By reading the first sentence of paragraph F, compensation for chief executives has become a combat zone where pitched battles between investors, management and board members are fought. We know that there are often disagreements concerning compensation between the investors and board directors of a company. The term compensation means payment or remuneration, so it has to do with money. Hence, heading 1, disputes over financial arrangements regarding senior managers are the most suitable. Dispute means disagreement and a financial arrangement refers to compensation. However, to be sure, we need to look further. In this paragraph, there is no information regarding changes made to the company, so heading 3, the possible need for fundamental change in every area of business is not relevant. Heading 5, the falling number of board members with broad enough experience is not the answer either. Despite the mention of chief executives in the paragraph, because there is no reference to a reduction in the number of board members. Paraphrased words: financial arrangements, compensation, payment. Senior managers, chief executives. Three. Explanation. The correct heading for this paragraph can be inferred from the sentence: boards of companies in all sectors will need to widen their perspective to encompass these issues, and this may involve a realignment of corporate goals. The term "in all sectors" means in every area, and it is clear that there are fundamental questions asked about the morality of capitalism and the market economy. Paraphrased words: in every area, in all sectors. Yes. Keywords: scrutiny, behavior, increased, economic downturn. Explanation. We can find information about the economic downturn in paragraph A. Following the 2008 financial meltdown, which resulted in a deeper and more prolonged period of economic downturn than anyone expected, the search for explanations in the many postmortems of the crisis has meant blame has been spread far and wide, and the role of bank directors and management and their widely publicized failures have been extensively picked over and examined in reports, inquiries, and commentaries. The search for explanations here can be understood as the fact that after the crisis, the responsibility of boards involved had been brought to the fore and examined in a thorough and careful manner, extensively picked over and examined. This has the same meaning as being scrutinized. In addition, the term "spread far and wide" means that such scrutiny has increased among the community. Paraphrased words: scrutiny, extensively picked over and examined. Increase, spread far and wide. Not given. Keywords: mismanaged, greater extent, banks, other businesses. Explanation. Mismanagement refers to the failures of governments, regulators, central banks, and auditors. These businesses are said to have all been in the frame, meaning that each and all of them are partly responsible for the 2008 crisis. However, we cannot find any information about whether banks contributed the most towards this crisis, nor are they more mismanaged than the remaining businesses. No. Keywords: board meeting, normally, as long as necessary, in full. Explanation. The last sentence of paragraph B, agendas can become overloaded, and this can mean the time for constructive debate must necessarily be restricted in favor of getting through the business. The fact that companies have a lot of other work to do means that they cannot afford long and thorough discussion. As a result, the time is restricted. Here, the time for constructive debate can refer to a board meeting. In full means thorough, or in detail, so it can be inferred that board meetings are usually rushed and not fully discussed, which is the opposite meaning of continue for as long as necessary to debate matters in full. No. Keywords. Committee structure, ensure, members, fully informed, significant issues. Explanation. In paragraph C, the author mentioned that board business is devolved to committees in order to cope with the workload, which may be more efficient but can mean that the board as a whole is less involved in fully addressing some of the most important issues. The word important is the same as significant. The fact that members of the committee are less involved in fully addressing some of the most important issues can be seen as their inability to understand the problems in detail. In addition, the sentence "it is not uncommon for the audit committee meeting to last longer than the main board meeting itself" can imply that committee members are not fully informed and therefore take much more time than needed to get on with the business. Information. Keywords. Before 2008, non-executive directors, disadvantage, lack of. Explanation. In the last sentence of paragraph D, the author mentioned executives had access to information that part-time non-executive directors lacked, leaving the latter unable to comprehend or anticipate the 2008 crash. Here, the latter refers to non-executive directors, while the disadvantage can imply the fact that they were not ready or prepared for the financial meltdown in 2008. The reason for this is that non-executive directors lacked information. Financial. Keywords. Tend to, too much, emphasis, short term. Explanation. We can use the skim and scan skill to find the word short term in paragraph E. They do not focus sufficiently on longer term matters of strategy, sustainability, and governance, but instead concentrate too much on short term financial metrics. The term concentrate too much on is the same as place too much emphasis on. So the word to fill in the blank must be about financial metrics. With the note that only one word is allowed and that the blank is followed by the word considerations, the answer should be financial. Paraphrased words. Place too much emphasis on, concentrate too much on. Investors or shareholders. Keywords. Pay, accept. Explanation. We already know from question 32 that there are often conflicts between investors and boards concerning the matter of compensation or pay. It is also stated in paragraph F that shareholders use their muscle in the area of pay to pressure boards to remove underperforming chief executives. The passage continues, their powers to vote down executive remuneration policies increased when binding votes came into force. If a decision is binding, this means that it must be accepted. Therefore, the word to fill in the blank should be investors or shareholders. Paraphrased words. Pay, remuneration.